Yo. Shit. Y'all. We're going to start this shit again. Welcome. Hey. This is Queens. I coming at you guys today to do a video about working on your shadow self. I'm going to show you guys my shadow workout, all right? Now, I didn't bring my notebook, but I will show you guys how and explain to you how and why and go through all the steps that will help you work through some things in your shadow aspect, all right? So make sure you guys stay tuned to the end of this video because I'm going to give you some valuable tips and tricks and actually show you an example of how to do your shadow worksheet. All right, or your shadow workout. All right, so make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, and make sure that notification bell is selected. All right. So one of the things that we need to understand what shadow work is. Shadow work is unscientifically, okay? There is a scientific meaning for this, and if you want to find that out, go look up Carl Jung, J-U-N-G, Jung is how I say it, all right? He does a lot of dealing with the unconscious psyche, all right? And that's the technical term for it, all right? For you nerd birds, all right? Ain't nothing wrong with that because that's how the fuck I know. I looked it up. I'm giving you guys a rough draft, okay? So, shadow aspects are the parts of ourselves that we have suppressed through nature, environment. It is ways that we feel that we can't tell anybody about. Sometimes it may be something that you're into that everyone else would consider weird, but you into it, but you don't tell people, all right? These could be PTSD traumas, post-traumatic stress traumas from childhood that has repressed certain feelings and emotions in yourself. Now that we know what the shadow aspect is, now we can understand why it's important to deal with this. Because when you go into autopilot, what's running your body when you're in autopilot is your shadow aspect, all right? And so that's the reason why you want to deal with it, because so quickly we turn on autopilot not even knowing. And some of us have been in autopilot so long, we don't even know that we're in autopilot. And so we're 100% living consequences and karma that our shadow aspect is wreaking havoc on our motherfucking lives. All right? So that's why we have to deal with the shadows. What's in our shadows? Everybody's shadow side will be different. We'll entangle different players. We'll entangle different things, all right? People, places, and things may differ. However, it is still necessary to deal with these things and categorize them, okay? All right, so while we're talking about categorizing, it's very important in your life, when you're getting your life in order, you visually put things in its proper category, period. In order for your mind to be able to handle more, it has to be organized, period. If you want to learn more, you have to organize your mind. You have to organize your conscious as well as your subconscious, all right? Period. So these are the reasons why we want to do these worksheets and these workouts. Okay? Now, the benefit to doing your shadow work is that now when you kick in autopilot, it's a successful program. It's not a self-defeating program. It's not a program that's operating from a lower aspect of yourself. All right? Now this program is operating from the higher you. the truest, authentic you. All right? So, now we know the benefits. All right. And so of course we know that when you're operating from a higher you're more successful. Your steps are more strategic. There's less room for error. You're more precise. You get to whatever end result a lot faster. All right. You're in tune. You're receiving the messages and the downloads. You're taking time for yourself, and your life is not suffering for it. You understand what I'm saying? You can take those breaks. You can not give a fuck about certain things that you give a fuck about now and really be at peace with your life. All right. Because to take on the energy of the divine is to take on an internal peace that everything is working for your good. And that's hard when you're constantly going through battles. But as you do the shadow work doesn't clear the battles necessarily. What shadow work does is help you more strategically plan your battles and execute your battles, giving you a bit of victory faster, all right? Or giving you victory where you've been defeated in areas. Okay, so let's move into the worksheet. So what I recommend you doing is getting a notebook, all right? A fresh notebook. Nothing else needs to be written in this notebook. The reason why is because this is a notebook that eventually you can do one or two things. You can destroy it, and or you can use it as a template to help other people help heal themselves, okay? Now, get a notebook, and on the first sheet, I want you to write down the key players in your life, all right? This could be anybody from your mother all the way down to a coworker. The key players in your life right now, in the past, and the ones you see going into the future, all right? And I want you to have these three on a little, in like separated columns. Key players, all right? One for the past, one list of people for the past, one list of people for the present, and one list of people for the future, all right? Now, one thing that you're going to see is some repetition. And those are the relationships that are the key relationships that as you're doing your shadow work, you need to include these people while you're doing your shadow work, all right? So let's say, for an example, your past could be your mother, your father, your siblings, all right? Your present could be your mother, your father, your siblings, your husband, your kids, all right? In the future, it could be your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your kids, your husband, your wife, your kids, your grandkids, blase, 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 all right? Simple. Now you starting to see who the key players in your life are. Now from those, the ones you are responsible for bringing into this world, you don't have to work on those right now, all right? You need to work on those that you're not responsible for, because we're talking about the things that you can not control right now. All right. The subconscious is about the things that you feel you can't control. So we're going to focus on that. Now, it's something about my mother, my father, my sister, my brother, my husband, my ex-girlfriend, my ex-boss, my high school teacher. It's something about these people that is significant that I need to figure out. So we're going to say, these are your variables. All right, because these people can change. These are your variables, all right? So with these variables, you're going to come up with, on the second page, a list of like characteristics. So this would be good sense of humor, argues a lot, things that they have in common with the other people on the list, all right? Now, or things that stick out to you about these people, okay? Let's say, for an example, this person is independent. That sticks out to you. Write it all down, whether it's good or bad. All right, write it all down. But I want you to separate those things in lists of good and bad. All right? So now you got a list of these people, what they're good for, or what's good about them and what's bad about them from your perspective. Now, we're not judging no one. We're just getting a list going. Now, with that bad list, I don't want you to hold on to it, but I want you to review it. All right? And as you're reviewing it, I want you to put a star by all the things that the world accuses you of being on other people's bad list. For an example, if you put up there, this person knows it all as a bad characteristic, and then people say that about you, that's going to put a star by it. You know, people always say, you know, this person is because we're looking for the negative things right now. All right, so now you got this list of behaviors that they have that now you have some similarities, right? So now you're starting to see some similarities here. So now on that third page, all right, now we're going to look at you, all right? And we're going to write down a list of the same thing, the different characteristics of you, classify them in the good side and the bad side, all right? Now, I want to take you to take that bad list and your families or your key players' bad list and look at them. Okay, because you're going to see some things that's similar. And for the things that's similar on your list, instead of a star, you're going to put a checklist, all right? You're going to check it off. All right? Because right now, we're wanting to isolate the problems so that we can resolve them. See, people be like, oh, let's focus on the good. Let's only focus on the good. That way we get more good. But here's the thing. You can focus on the good, but eventually, if you don't address that weak link, that chain will break. So now we're doing some maintenance to keep the strength of the chain going, all right? So now you have these things that you see in yourself, all right? Now, I want you, with that things that you checked off, I want you on a separate sheet of paper to write those things in a list. And I want you to identify at what age do you feel that you acquired these things or this became a pattern or behavior in your life as early as possible, all right? Because now we want to start building a timeline. Because, see, with that timeline, we understand certain things. We can understand where we were at the time that fucking shit happened, where we were in our mental age, where our parents were, what was going on in the environment, in the world, what the culture where it was at that time. Because, see, we're going to work through these problems, and we're going to turn problems into solutions. So we need to get to the gut of it, all right? So now that we have that, now we can start to address things that came to us through either love, hate, and or can you see this? Do you understand if it was love versus hate? Because sometimes you get confused and you say, I don't know if it's love or hate. That would be your yes or no. Yes, this feels like love. No, this feels like hate. So yes, love, no hate. All right. So now you're going to see that you were, and this is what everybody finds out, you were born into an environment that was not loving and nurturing, and taught you a lot of self-hate, a lot of self-sabotaging behaviors and patterns. And so now you're at the root of the problem. You know when it happened. You know what was going on. And so now you can start to put in your adult mind that as an adult, I choose to look at this from a higher perspective and settle it in my mind that that outcome was the best outcome, and yet hurt, and it was a growing pain, but it was absolutely needed. But now in your mind, you've worked it out to where you see there was no other solution or option because that was the outcome. But now you know it, and so you worked it out in your mind. And so now you can start to heal from this. So now where you felt like, okay, I was abandoned, I wasn't necessarily abandoned. See, a lot of people say that, but this is how you make what you say real. When you break it down and you make sure that there is no other possibility. And then with that possibility, you break that down in your mind to accept that possibility as the reality that it was. And you really embrace getting over it, all right? And so you keep going through your book, and it's going to be some things that make you cry. Have your box of Kleenex there. It's going to be some things about yourself that, you're going to see patterns, all right? You're going to see generational curses. You're going to see your DNA replicating from past life to past life to past life. Now, when it comes to going back as far as your past life, first thing you got to do is get to what those problems are and when they started on this earth. All right, and if it's something that started very young, I could say that may be a past life behavior, all right, that may have been one of your last behaviors, or it could have been your main behavior back then. So pay attention to the red flags, write them down, all right, when it comes to, your past lives and how things, are organized in your mind. A lot of people don't worry about that, but you have to go that far back. Because as you're working on your shadow side, romantic love relationships are going to come up. And those are coming from past lives. All right? Those are coming from past lives. So you have to dig a little deeper to find out about your past life. But a lot of this life and the people around you in this life are going to show you things about your past life that can help you solve some things and remove some karmatic debts in this life without any tarot, without any spiritualist person reading any items on you. You can read your own life by reading the people in the surroundings and the situations that they're in. What's so familiar? What's common? What is similar here? What characteristics are repetitive in this circle, in this cycle of people that I interact with, or lack thereof? Okay? So it's one of those things where you just keep digging. Keep digging, and classifying and organizing. There's going to be a list as you're organizing. There's going to be things that you cannot change, has a list, and the things that you can change has a list. All right? The things that you cannot change, those are in an acceptable list. You have to accept those things. You cannot change them. And then there's a list of things you can change. And this is the list that you don't have to accept. You can alter this list as much as you want to. All right? But that's how you start doing your shadow work. And each page, just dig deeper into the next page, into the next page. And then before you know it, you'll have a whole, book of behaviors and things and pathways and curves and actions and consequences and rewards that your soul's journey. You'll actually start to see it. It's called mind mapping, and that's what you do to find your way. You mind map. You go to the problem. You start tearing it apart and putting those things in lists. You know what this is. You don't know what this is. You start Googling. You start doing your research. You start doing your meditation. You start sending yourself love and forgiveness and light in that area of your life by accepting what has happened, but knowing that it worked out for your best at the end. Like, oh man, like if I hadn't went through that, if they didn't fuck me over, I wouldn't be here in this world where I'm getting the knowledge and I'm starting to step into my true self. I would still be under that illusion, being blinded. Who knows what my life would look like? But here where I am presently, I have everything that I need to be successful. And it's because rejection is protection. Whatever you went through was designed for you to go through it. Now it's time for you to mind map it, to understand it and break it down and use the things that you find from that as keys on how to move forward. Because he said that everything in you is already in you that you're going to need for the journey. Mind mapping helps, y'all. Mind mapping helps. That's another technical term for it. Mind mapping. But that's what you do. You dig deeper. And you be honest with yourself. Nobody's standing over you. Nobody's reading it. Be honest with yourself. What do you really like about certain people? What do you really not like about certain people? What do you really like about yourself? What do you really not like about yourself? What do you really want to change about you? And we're going to keep it on the internal aspect right now, because we're talking about that shadow side. Because once you start fixing that shadow side, you can have the desired physical thing. So it's like, break it down. Make it make sense for yourself. All right? And so just keep doing that. Going through, making it, cutting it deeper, finding things, pulling certain things out. When you see a problem, you fix the problem. You change that thought. You change that belief. You change that reaction. You do something different. All right? That's what mind mapping will help you do. It will help you target what you're actually looking for, because now you're organizing shit. Now, when something going wrong, you can pull up that folder of, okay, my distress, this is what I normally need to be doing, blah, 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 boom, 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 boom. You feel me? So hopefully that was a blessing to you guys. I would show y'all my notebook, but unfortunately I burned mine because I really had a lot of things that I had to come into reality of. And a part of my cord cutting ritual was to burn the thing that put it all together for me. And it's because that is the thing. Once you've put it all together, that notebook becomes the picture of your dark side. And so I burned it. There's no need for me to hold on to it anymore. I don't need those things. Some people carry them around. I just felt the need in my life not to carry that kind of filth around. Like, for real. But you do with yours what you want to do. Some people save it. Some people bury it. Some people turn it into a book. You know, I've seen people turn it into books. Right? So, but no matter what, it will, by the time you get to the end of your notebook, you would have saw your true self, your unconscious and your conscious self, and you will in turn make way better decisions. You're gonna cut certain people, things, and places out of your life and out of your existence by doing cord cutting rituals. You're gonna want to do spiritual baths to get rid of things. Like, you're gonna want to do, spell work to help you, bring in certain energies now that you're more conscious, more aware of who you are. It's so important. It's so important. And even put a page in there for your kids and look at some of the characteristics and the actions and behaviors of your kids. It's going to show you a lot about them generational curses, especially if you had a lot of issues with your parents and now you're having issues in your relationship and now your kids are having issues. That is like a generational curse. So pay attention. Pay attention to the red flags, y'all. And you can break generational curses. All right. Anything that you find, you have you have the ability to fix. Why? Because the future is limitless. The future is unpredictable. All right. So when people tell you things are gonna happen in your future, they be lying. Now, they can guesstimate, but the exact thing, nobody knows the future, all right? Because the future is infinity. It can be anything. It's what you do with right now that changes the future or keeps it the same. What you're doing right now. So the best thing I can tell you to do is work through your shit. Work through it. You ain't don't need no motherfucking counselor. You got common sense, okay? You know how to classify things. You know what feels good and what don't. Everybody's feel good and feel bad ain't the same. You ain't trying to fix everybody right now. You trying to fix you. It starts with you. So do the work. Do the work. I need to drink some water. I'm dehydrated. So, y'all know how to tell if you dehydrated? You see this? Watch this. Now watch how long it take for it to pop back. You see? Still going. See? I need to drink some water. Yeah, you could do that, and if you do, see, you see it. It's on both sides too, so yep, I need to drink some water. All right, y'all. Peace, light, and love. Till next time, do this worksheet and work out. All right? Let me know how this message resonated. Peace, light, and love, family.